So we're going to have a look this morning at our morning meeting theme for the day. So looking at sport, idols, and we're going to explore a bit more about what idolatry is and how we can be aware of it. Recap yesterday, we looked at what it, more tangibly, starting to look at some examples of what it looks like to compete in a way that gives credit to God. So we looked at, you shared some examples about being a grateful athlete, a thankful athlete, a humble athlete, and a servant athlete. And we were giving examples, and we were saying it's not just about outward gestures and ticking things off, which we've got to be wary of with our team points at Team Challenge. It's not just about getting the points checked. We're looking at how we can apply the gospel to our hearts and let that transform us, transform our motives and the way we play. And we looked at as well, didn't we, how, like our memory verse says, doesn't it, we follow the example that was set for us by Christ. We've been looking at him and how he leads an example of his attitude and what he's done for us. And we want to copy that in what we do. So Herman was looking last night, we're looking at exactly what Jesus achieved on the cross and how he did it. And we want to copy his heart and follow his example. So today we're looking at idolatry, what it is and how we can be aware of it in our sport. So we're actually going to grab our Bibles and read a bit more around where we got our memory verse from. So if you have your Bibles, you're going to...
I've got mine.
You've got your page there. So it's up on the screen as well.
Page 128.
128, thanks.
No worries.
Makes it easier. Sometimes the numbers can be quite hard to find.
Yeah, it's true. All right, you got it there? All right. So 1 Corinthians 10, reading from verse 25, it says, anything sold in the meat market without raising questions of conscience. For the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. If an unbeliever invites you to a meal and you want to go, eat whatever is put before you without raising questions of conscience. If someone says to you, this has been offered as a sacrifice, then do not eat it, both for the sake of the one who told you and for the sake of your conscience. I'm referring to the other person's conscience, not yours. For why is my freedom being judged by another's conscience? If I take part in the meal with thankfulness, why am I denounced because of something I thanked God for? So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Do not cause anyone to stumble, whether Jews, Greeks, or the church of God, even as I try to please everyone in every way. For I am not seeking my own good, but the good of many, so that they may be saved. Follow my example as I follow the example of Christ.
Thanks, Em. So we wanted to read that to give us a bit of an idea where that memory verse is coming from, and it can be a bit of some tricky stuff in there, and we're not going to cover it all. A few little points on there to remind ourselves. But really, it's saying, look, food isn't the issue. The issue isn't whether food is bad or good. It's the fact that you're potentially offering it to idols. You're making it an idol. And similar to us, we've been looking this week, we're saying that sport isn't an issue, it's what you do with it. And so his conclusion there is do whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do it all for the glory of God. There are a little couple of things in there to note, like we've been talking about being a thankful athlete. And if you look in verse 28, he says, sorry, I'm missing that one. That's why it's good to look. Verse 30, if I do it with thankfulness, why am I denounced? Why am I put down? So he's saying, yeah, do whatever you do it with thankfulness. He's also saying in verse 28, he says, think about others, and then you look later on how the effect it's going to have on others. Think about for others good, how's it going to affect the way that they view God through what you do. So there's some juicy things in there. We're just going to flag them there for you so you know what's going on, and have a read for it for yourself so you know what you're singing. You don't ever want to sing something like
Ask your leaders some questions.
Oh, yeah, some great questions in there. Have a read of the passage and ask your leaders. But let's get back to idolatry, because he talks about idolatry. So we've seen it, reminded ourselves why we're talking about idolatry, because at the time there was food being offered to these idols. But idols, do you think Paul would say the same stuff to us today? I mean, does anyone worship idols today in Perth and what we see around us?
Yeah, I think it does. I guess not in the same context of the Bible when food being offered to idols and statues, and that's what comes to my mind when I think about idols. But yeah, there's definitely still idols in our world today. Like even if like a higher or lower game, like the amount that people get paid, athletes get paid, that points to the fact that we're putting glory to these athletes and we're going, wow, you're so great, and we're giving them all these money. And so it's so easy to put sport in the place of God. And it's also really easy to, I guess, get that, like try and put sport and puff ourselves up and kind of bring glory to ourselves in that way as well. In this book here, there's a really great quote, and it says, you see, if we're not playing sports to the glory of God, we're still worshipping. We're just worshipping someone or something else. And that's what the Bible calls idolatry.
It's a helpful definition. So idolatry is putting something else in God's place in our hearts, and we give our all to it. And like you were saying as well, we see so many sports players, we obviously value it very highly because they get so much money, and we can copy that in our own hearts, and we really want to get that acceptance and love from people through how we play our sport, rather than going, oh God, I recognise that you love me no matter whether I'm good or bad in terms of my sporting performance. You love me because you look on the cross and what Jesus has done, and I can just come to you whenever I want. So it's so easy to do that. Idolatry then is putting something else in our hearts in place of God. So what are some of the ways that you are tempted to make sport a much higher priority in your life at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, like it's definitely an everyday thing, but I think as finals approach, for me, like in my netball life, as finals get closer, it becomes easier to slip up. And then I think about the ladder there, like and looking at Team Challenge and looking how close some of the teams are, like there's not many points between different places, and that temptation to just put winning and put our skill and our ability and our team higher than it should be. Yeah.
That's good. So as the pressure builds up, it's more likely that we're going to put. It's easier. We're more tempted to put sport in the winning in the highest priority rather than still being important, but not the most important thing. Are there some things, like yesterday we looked at some ideas of how we can practically see giving glory to God in our sport, but on the opposite, are there things that you can kind of see that come out in your life, or also maybe some tips that we can be aware of when you'll start to think, maybe I'm putting sport in too high a place?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a range of things up on the screen. Yeah, there we go. So I guess, all of these things at different stages in my life have definitely been cause for idolatry and needing to do that heart check. Probably the ones that I'm most prone to stumble on would be gossip and putting others down. And I guess both of those things, like if I think about it and I think about what's in my heart when I'm doing those things, it's why am I gossiping? Why am I putting others down? It's to build myself up. And that's hard to say. Like, I don't want to be that person that, like, I want to be a good person. But like when I gossip or when I put other people down, it's so that I can be elevated, and it's that real pride issue. Yeah.
So pride is in that as well. Is there anything else there that you've seen that really you're wary of that comes out? I mean, you mentioned the other day about, even out your example the other day, you had an elbow.
So with the umpires and just I guess like pushing the boundaries a bit, like going, it's okay to just do this or do that. So so
similar to our list yesterday, looking at some ideas of what it might look like to give glory to God. Looking at some of this list, and obviously it's far from comprehensive, just being aware of some of these things doesn't mean it's necessarily happening, but it's a good little check. So actually, God, how am I doing? Where is sport in my life? Am I putting it in a place where I'm trying to get everything for sport for me, or is it for your benefit? And am I looking to serve and be humble and be thankful? So those are some things that come up for you. How do you go about trying to fix it? If you do see those things happening and you're aware of them, how do you go about changing
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Yeah, so like I guess I shared yesterday about that time like that God really convicted me, but like it's the power of prayer, like, and it's that constant check, like, and that constant going back to like, am I bringing glory to God, and asking that question of ourselves, and then praying and saying, God, forgive me, change my heart, do a work in my heart today. And it's the work of the Spirit that can change my heart, so I can talk to God about it. But like, if I'm honest with you guys, like, so often I'll do that heart check, but then I'll justify it. I'll be like, oh, it was only small, like no one noticed, like it's actually fine. But like it's not, like, and that's just that sinfulness in my heart that brings that up. And that's where I really need people in my life that can call me out on it. So I've got people on my netball team, or people just like within my church, that when they see that behaviour in me, they'll call me out on it. And while it is hard to hear from our friends, I've given them permission to call me out, because I want to bring glory to God. Like that, my heart is to bring glory to God, but that it's not always what comes out in my sinfulness.
Yeah, so it's coming back to our little analogy, just not putting a band-aid over the top of it, isn't it? We don't want our mates, and we don't want to be picked up and say, look, I've just seen you do this, like, and then you go like, well, what's going on? It's not like, yeah, I've seen you do this, stop doing it. It's like, in a loving way. That's why it's good to have great mates, and as a team at Sports Plus, a team challenge this afternoon, as you've got to know each other. It's like, man, I just saw you do that, and I've seen you doing it all week, like, what's going on? Like, it doesn't seem to match up with what's going on. It's like if you see you gossip, then I'll try and get to your heart. I'm like, why are you doing that, Em? Like, you're doing it because you're trying to pull others down, and you're trying to make yourself the centre of the team. But you know, humbly come and say, actually, God's given me the abilities here. I'm going to use them in my team, and I'm going to make much of Him rather than much of myself. So we need each other. We need each other in a team. We need friends. Even if you're a tennis player, you need. I know the coaches will say it's not necessarily. It seems like a one individual sport, but it's not. You still have your team around you and your coaching around you. So needing those people around you to help us work out what's going on in our heart and bring us back to the gospel. And that's really where we've got to now, guys. The Christian life, there's a quote I've got there that says this. A guy called Keller, he says, you're more wicked than you ever dare imagine, but you're also more loved than you could ever imagine. You see, guys, the walk of being a Christian in sport, is marked by continually coming back to the gospel. We never go away from it. We never come back. We always come back to it and say, God, help me here. Understand how much you love us. We've become more and more aware as Christians of the wickedness in our heart, because He reveals it. He wants to refine us. He wants to make us more like Himself. And so we just keep coming back to the gospel. Keep gathering around friends and saying, look, help me in this. I'll pray for me. I'm praying for you. And that's the walk of being a Christian, reminding ourselves. And that's why we do it at Sports Plus every year. Remember the gospel, guys. Remember the monumental news. It's incredible. Let's get it back inside ourselves. Let's get it in full attention and go with it. So when idolatry comes up in our life, the priority in our sport becomes refined when we look at the gospel. It becomes about worshipping God. And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to pray that would happen today. We want to pray that idols in our hearts would be laid down, and God would help use each other to show those this afternoon as well. Summary, we need to focus on the gospel. And we're going to see tonight more and more, as Jeremy unpacks it, that the gospel leads us to peace with God, something that cannot change. Our sporting performance can go up and down, and it can our emotions can go up and down, but His love is secure. Idolatry leads to nasty things. Stuff on that board like gossip, cheating, anxiety, lots of things. But the gospel, the monumental news, it gives us, guys, it gives us a joy that just can never be taken away. And that's what we love about it. We love about what God has done for us. So.